You're on the Our Head Story channel.
I got home earlier than usual that Friday. No reason, really. Just one of those gut-feeling decisions that don't make sense until later. The sun was still up, casting long shadows across the driveway as I pulled in. I remember thinking I'd surprise Kayla by cooking something nice, set the tone for a quiet weekend before she left for her friend's bachelorette trip. The plan was simple. Be thoughtful. Be present. Lately, things have felt off. Not dramatic, just muted. Like someone had slowly turned the volume down on our marriage and forgot to tell me. I walked through the door and the house felt normal at first, warm lights on in the living room, laundry half-folded on the couch, the faint smell of Kayla's shampoo lingering in the air. I set the grocery bags on the counter and listened. She was upstairs, heels tapping against the hardwood as she moved around. "Hey," I called out. "I'm home early." "Hi, babe," she shouted back, distracted. "I'm almost ready. Just trying to fit 5 days into one duffel bag." I smiled to myself. That was Kayla forever trying to underpack and always failing. As I started to unpack the groceries, something buzzed near my elbow. Her phone. It was sitting on the kitchen island, screen up, unlocked. I wasn't snooping. I didn't even have time to react. The preview lit up clear as day. "You promised to stay until morning. That room is open again. The Sherwood Hotel. T." The air changed. Instantly. My hands froze over the carton of eggs. "You promised to stay until morning. That room is open again. The Sherwood Hotel. T." It didn't feel like real time anymore, more like slow motion. That message wasn't vague. It wasn't misdirected or mistyped. It wasn't some spam bot or quirky group chat. It was personal. An asterisk mate. Loaded. The kind of message that only makes sense between two people who've already crossed a line and are planning to do it again. I stared at it, unblinking. The screen dimmed, then went dark. But those words burned themselves into my brain like neon graffiti on a blank wall. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want that to be the story I was living. But belief didn't factor in anymore. Footsteps approached from the hallway. I didn't move. Kayla entered the room, humming. She smelled like vanilla and bergamot, the perfume she only wore for nights out. Her hair was pulled back tight, makeup flawless, and she had that calm glow she always had when she was about to head out with the girls. Except this wasn't just a girls' night. She walked over, scooped her phone off the counter, and shoved it into her purse. No rush. No flicker of guilt. Not even a glance in my direction to check whether I'd seen the message. "Traffic's gonna be insane," she muttered, grabbing her keys. "If I don't leave now, I'll be late meeting Becca. Did you need anything before I go?" I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Words were caught in my throat like sand. She waited a beat, then gave me a peck on the cheek. "I'll text when I get there. Love you." And she walked out. Door closed. Car started. Tires rolled down the street. Gone. I stood there in the kitchen, not touching anything. I didn't check the time. Didn't check the message again. I didn't need to. It was etched into me now. Branded. "You promised to stay until morning." The refrigerator hummed in the background. Somewhere outside, a lawnmower started. Life was still happening, cars moving, birds chirping, dishes drying in the rack. But I wasn't in that world anymore. I was in this other place. A place where the floor feels soft, like it might give way. Where air is too thick to breathe. I sat down at the kitchen table. My legs didn't feel like they were mine anymore. I ran my hand down my face and leaned forward, elbows on knees. I kept thinking there has to be a logical explanation. Some innocent misunderstanding. Maybe T is Tanya. Or Taylor. Maybe Becca had booked a room at the Sherwood and that's just where they're staying. But why would Kayla need to promise to stay until morning? Why wouldn't that room have just been hers from the start? And why did she look so calm? If she knew a message like that had just come in, if she knew I might have seen it, shouldn't she have looked nervous? Flustered? Anything? She didn't. Not one flicker of panic. Not even a stutter. That scared me more than the message itself. Because it meant this wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was part of her life now, something rehearsed. And I had just stumbled into the wings of a play I didn't even know was being performed. For the next half hour, I sat there, turning every interaction over in my mind like puzzle pieces. Not just that day. The last few months. Maybe longer. Late gym nights. Secretive phone calls. Showers before dinner when she hadn't left the house all day. That shift in her smile, less warmth, more distance. That edge of irritation when I asked simple questions like where she'd been or who she was meeting. It all started to stack layer by layer. Not hard proof, but signs. A mosaic of small lies, tiny misdirections. Enough to ignore until you couldn't. Eventually, I stood up, walked to the sink, and stared out the window. The street was quiet. Our neighbor's dog barked at a passing jogger. The world kept spinning. But mine had stopped. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't smash the phone or call her on the spot. Instead, I started asking myself the real question, what do I do now? How do you approach someone you might not even know anymore? What do you say to a woman who can walk past you so effortlessly after a message like that? Do you wait for her to come back? Do you pretend you never saw it? Do you confront her? Do you gather proof? I didn't know. I genuinely didn't. The only thing I was sure of in that moment was this. There was no going back to how things were. Not after this. Not now. And maybe that realization, quiet, chilling, and absolute, hurt more than the message itself. That night, the silence in the house didn't feel peaceful. It felt suspicious. Manufactured. Like someone had vacuum-sealed our life and left it to sit untouched and airless. I didn't turn on the TV. Didn't play music. I just sat in the living room with the lights off, the weight of that single message still pressed against my chest like a brick. It wasn't just the words, it was what they cracked open. I wasn't just shocked. I was starting to remember. Funny how memory works. It waits. Waits for a spark, a context, a reason to reorder itself. And now that I had one, it was like a drawer sliding open too easily, every odd moment, every excuse, every almost argument suddenly laid out in plain view. Late gym sessions. That was the first thread. Kayla had started going to a 24-hour gym about 10 months ago. At first, it made sense. She said she needed stress relief, that work had been piling up. She started going after dinner, saying she preferred working out on an empty stomach. She even bought new outfits, more flattering than functional, and insisted on going alone. I never saw her break a sweat. Never saw a single protein shake. Once, I offered to join her on a weekend. She brushed me off instantly. Said she needed that space. It's my alone time. Back then, I thought it was healthy. A boundary. Now I wondered if it was just the cover story. Then there were the girls' nights. More frequent lately. Always the same format. She'd leave around 7, come home near midnight, and never post photos. That wasn't like her. Kayla lived on Instagram. But these nights? Just 1 or 2 vague pictures of cocktails or a charcuterie board, never people. I'd ask how the night went and she'd always answer too quickly. So fun, she'd say, changing the subject before I could ask who was there. Once I pressed. Asked which girls she'd gone out with. She blinked. You don't know them. That was it. No names, no stories. Just a wall. But the signs weren't all digital or social. Some of them were physical. Tangible. Like the time I opened the back seat of her car to grab her sunglasses and saw a men's windbreaker tossed over the seat. Too big for her. I picked it up confused. It didn't smell like her perfume or mine. When I asked, she barely looked up from her laptop. Oh, that she said. Probably Becca's boyfriend. He rode with us one night. I meant to give it back. I wanted to believe her. So I did. But I kept noticing more. Like the new lingerie she bought and never wore around me. Tags still on some of them hidden in the back of the drawer behind old sweaters. Or the boutique wine receipts I found in her purse, brands we'd never had from places we'd never gone. One had a $160 charge. 2 glasses. Who was the second glass for? The laptop thing, too, that was new. Kayla had always been open with her devices. But over the past few months, she'd started closing tabs when I entered the room. Not slamming it shut, just quietly minimizing. Her email, too, had become a ghost. She used to leave it open. Now it timed out in seconds, password required even for previews. And then the names. Random names on her phone that never lasted. I saw them flash during dinner once, Leo, then 2 weeks later, Eric. Then T. Always first initials or new contacts with no photo. She'd never linger on the messages. Just swipe and flip the screen down. I once made a joke. Is T your Dr*G dealer or your secret twin? She smiled. That quick, rehearsed smile. You're ridiculous, she said. Then changed the subject. There was a moment I still can't shake. Maybe 6 weeks ago. I had come home early from a work meeting, a rare weekday lunch break. Her car was in the driveway. I thought she'd be thrilled. I walked in calling her name. No answer. Upstairs, the door to the guest room was shut. Odd. We never used that room. I pushed it open, expecting to find her napping. Instead, she was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, with her phone in both hands and earbuds in. She looked up so fast I thought she'd hurt her neck. You scared me, she said. I asked what she was doing. She said she needed space to clear her head and meditate. I didn't question it then. But I remember the panic in her eyes. I remember how she wouldn't look me straight in the face for the rest of the day. That night, after she went to bed, I walked into that room again. The floor creaked where she'd been sitting. And right there beside the wall, half tucked under the dresser, was a hotel keycard. No label. Just black plastic with a magnetic strip. I didn't ask her about it. I should have. But I didn't want to know. I think some part of me was already beginning to choose denial because it was easier than dealing with the truth. Now, though, denial wasn't an option. Not after the Sherwood Hotel message. Not after tea. I got up and wandered around the house. Everything looked the same. Furniture, dishes, framed vacation photos. The living room throw pillows she had to rearrange a dozen times before a dinner party. The hallway mirror she claimed made the entryway feel taller. The lamp she broke 2 summers ago and glued back together like it was nothing. All of it still in place. But none of it felt real anymore. It was like someone had swapped my life out for a replica. Same parts. Same layout. But the feeling? Hollow. I walked into her bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. Her perfume still clung to the sheets. It made my throat tighten. I looked over at her nightstand. Clean. Clutter-free. Kayla always kept things tidy, but tonight it felt sterile. A book sat on top, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. I stared at the title for a full minute. It had a bookmark. Page 18. Unopened since she bought it. I picked it up and set it in the drawer. Then I opened my phone. I scrolled through her old messages. I don't even know why. Nostalgia? Masochism? I looked for signs, red flags I should have seen earlier. There they were, in plain text, excuses, delays, cancellations. A trend. I had texted, "What time will you be home?" nearly every week, and the answers had slowly drifted from 9-ish to not sure to no response at all. That's when the truth hit me hard. It wasn't just that she was lying. It was how easy it had become for her. Seamless. Reflexive. She didn't flinch anymore. Didn't pause. She'd learned to lie like it was breathing. I turned off my phone and lay back on the bed, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling fan turning slowly above me. One thought ran circles in my head. This isn't about suspicion anymore. It's about evidence. This wasn't paranoia. It was pattern. A calculated deception played out over months, if not longer. She had choreographed it with care, scheduling, rehearsing, controlling the narrative. She didn't get sloppy. She got bold. So now I had a choice. I could confront her, swing blindly, start a fight I wasn't ready to finish. Or I could wait. Watch. Document. Turn her game back on her. I wasn't angry. Not yet. That would come later. Right now, I just felt one thing. Clarity. And clarity is dangerous when it replaces love. Saturday morning came slow, like my body didn't want to acknowledge the day. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself I hadn't seen what I saw. But the message was real. Her reaction, her calm, her composure, that was real too. So I got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table while the silence of the house pressed in again like it was trying to smother me. She hadn't texted. Not even a casual "made it safe" or "love you." Normally she did. But not this time. I checked her location. Still shared, still active. Sloppy. She must have forgotten, or maybe she thought I'd never check. Maybe she believed I trusted her that much. It didn't take long to figure out where she was. A tagged Instagram story from Becca led me to a location, some lakeside rental property 2 towns over. She was in the background of a group photo holding a wine glass, wearing a wide smile like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't carrying a secret. So I drove. I didn't race. I didn't tailspin. I just moved. Every minute behind the wheel layered more weight on top of me, dread, nerves, curiosity. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't going to storm in or make a scene. I just needed to see for myself. I needed the truth to become visible. The lake house came into view about 2 hours later. Nestled behind a stretch of woods, it was the kind of place people rented for wine-soaked weekends and filtered photos. Bright white porch. String lights. Too many Adirondack chairs. I parked up the hill far enough to go unnoticed. From there, I could see most of the patio and the sliding glass doors that led into the living room. It was early evening. The sun was doing that golden hour thing it does when everything looks warm and forgiving. I waited, crouched behind a tree, heart punching through my chest. Music played softly from a speaker, something poppy, female vocals, lots of harmony. I heard laughter too. Real, loud, unbothered laughter. Then the patio door slid open and there she was. Kayla. She looked radiant. Free. Like someone in her element. She wore a sundress I hadn't seen before, one that floated when she moved. Her hair was curled just enough to look effortless. She held a wine glass in one hand and gestured wildly with the other as she told a story. The women around her, 5 or 6 of them, were hanging on every word. Becca was there. I recognized a few others from past parties. But it was Kayla who drew the spotlight. Like she was hosting, not just attending. I stepped in closer through the trees, careful not to snap any twigs. From that angle, I could see into the living room. Cozy couches, low fire in the hearth, empty wine bottles scattered on a side table. Her purse was open on the kitchen counter, her phone resting on top. I watched as she picked it up, typed something quickly, then set it down again. Not furtively. Like muscle memory. She mimicked holding her phone up to her ear, then pantomimed a conversation. The group erupted in laughter. Then she mouthed something, couldn't hear it, but I saw the words on her lips. He thinks I'm still with Becca. Someone cackled. Another raised her glass and said something that made Kayla blush, then cover her face like a teenager. I didn't want to assume, but the context felt too familiar. And that gesture, that exaggerated phone charade, it hit something deep in me. She wasn't just keeping secrets. She was performing them. Still, I stayed. Time passed in slow, unforgiving waves. The sky darkened, the mood softened. Eventually, the group drifted inside. Some music still filtered out and I could hear Kayla's voice more clearly now. Soft, syrupy. She was talking about someone, her tone dropped, more in asterisk mate. I couldn't make out the full words, but then I heard the name. T. And everything inside me froze. Someone asked her something. She hesitated. Then she laughed, a breathy, confessional kind of laugh, and said, I told him it was a yoga retreat. Another laugh. Another toast. She wasn't talking about me. She was talking about him. That's when I saw it. The small black keycard on the table. The same kind of card I'd found under the dresser weeks ago. She slid it into her wallet like it meant nothing. Like it wasn't evidence. I should have turned around right then. But I didn't. I stepped closer. Too close. My shoe crunched on gravel. Just one step, but loud enough. The nearest woman, maybe Becca, turned her head toward the patio door. Her eyes locked on mine through the glass. Time broke. She froze. Kayla noticed. Followed her gaze. And then she saw me. Her whole body tensed. The wine glass in her hand dipped slightly. Her lips parted as if she might say something, but nothing came out. No one else moved. The moment held like an inhale with no exhale. Suspended. Fragile. I stood still, caught in plain view now. She didn't move. She didn't run. She didn't cry out. She just looked, caught. And then, calmly, colder than I ever imagined, I turned around. And walked away. I didn't run. I didn't call her name. I didn't wait for an explanation. I walked. Past the tree line. Past the porch light. Past the curated life she'd been building in secret. The air felt thicker the farther I got from her, but I didn't stop. When I reached the car, I sat behind the wheel and stared straight ahead. My hands didn't shake. My throat didn't tighten. I didn't even feel sad. I felt done. The truth wasn't loud. It didn't come crashing in with yelling and accusations. It was quiet. Steady. It sat beside me in that driver's seat and whispered, "You're not crazy. You were never crazy. This is real. It's been real all along." I didn't need to ask her anything. I didn't need to see what happened next inside that lake house. I had seen everything I needed. I had heard her voice, watched her body language, watched her lie without blinking. And I knew. She was gone. Not physically. Not yet. But in every way that mattered, Kayla had already left me. She just hadn't told me. That drive home was silent. No music. No calls. No thoughts loud enough to stick. When I got back, the house felt foreign. Like I was breaking into someone else's home. I locked the door behind me and went upstairs. I opened the guest room door and sat on the edge of the bed, the same spot where she had sat weeks ago with her earbuds in and secrets swirling. I reached under the dresser and pulled out that same keycard. Held it in my palm. The Sherwood Hotel. So it was the same place. This wasn't new. This was routine. This was planned. I didn't cry. I didn't throw it. I just set it on the nightstand and left the room. Downstairs, I poured a glass of water. My hand hovered near the wine rack, then pulled away. I wasn't in the mood for comfort. I wasn't in the mood for anything. I stood in the kitchen, lights low, fridge humming, everything still. I opened my laptop. I needed to know more. Not to confront her. Not yet. But to understand what kind of war I was about to fight. What kind of person I was really married to. And whether I was ready to become the kind of person who could walk away without looking back. The next morning, I woke before the sun. I didn't sleep much, maybe 2 hours total, just enough to feel the fatigue but not enough to escape it. My body was drained, but my mind wouldn't stop. It was running laps around every scene, every word, every glance she'd ever thrown over her shoulder. That look on her face at the lake house? I would never forget it. Not the surprise. Not the fear. Not even guilt. No. What I saw was calculation. not remorse. She hadn't expected to be caught, but she was already rehearsing her damage control. And I wasn't interested in hearing it. Instead, I opened the closet in the office and pulled out the old tech bin. Dusty chargers, a cracked Kindle, 3 outdated phones we never recycled. Buried underneath was Kayla's old iPhone, an older model with a pink case still attached. I'd forgotten we even still had it. I held it in my hand for a moment, just staring at it. It was powered off, probably hadn't been touched in over a year. But if she hadn't wiped it, if it still had her old messages, photos, browsing history, then maybe it held something else, something unfiltered. Something before she got good at hiding. I plugged it in. The Apple logo blinked to life, and I waited as it booted. The screen cracked once across the bottom, a small fracture like a scar. Eventually, it asked for the passcode. I knew it. She hadn't changed her pins much, still used her niece's birthday for everything. It worked. The phone opened and I was in. My heart was pounding as I tapped into messages. I told myself I was ready for whatever I'd find, but I was lying. No one's really ready to see the truth about someone they love. You think you can handle it until you're staring at a thread that proves they were living a double life while you were folding their laundry. It didn't take long. There it was. A name I hadn't seen before. Trevor Kane. No emoji. No heart. Just his full name. Like she wanted it to seem professional. But the messages? They were anything but. I can't stop thinking about last weekend. That view. That room. You. I told him I had a migraine so I could stay longer. I hated lying, but being with you felt like the first time I could breathe in months. That little hotel by the lake? Room 213 is ours again next Friday. Don't forget the wine this time. The dates were consistent. They aligned with her girls' nights, with her late gym trips, with every unexplained moment that had left me wondering if I was imagining things. I wasn't. I was living in the aftermath of someone else's planning. Photo attachments came next. Blurry images of hotel beds, a bottle of wine on the nightstand, legs tangled under sheets. She never showed her face in the pictures. But she didn't need to. I recognized her hair, her jewelry, the same blue nail polish I had complimented weeks ago. I even saw the same robe she wore around our house, only this time she was wearing it in someone else's room. Audio clips too. That shocked me. One was 18 seconds long. Her voice, breathy and quiet. I wish I could fall asleep next to you and wake up without having to lie about it. One day maybe. Another one, just her laughing. Whispering. Saying his name. Trevor. You drive me insane. My stomach twisted, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. I had to know how far it went. How many lies were buried under this house like mold behind drywall? I opened the Notes app. There were drafts. Things she'd never sent. One stood out. How do you tell someone you don't love them the same way anymore without sounding like the villain? Another. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have looked like if I'd met Trevor first. The words blurred. I rubbed my eyes, blinked hard, and scrolled back to the top. She hadn't just cheated. She'd emotionally relocated. I was the one living in an empty shell and she had moved into another world. I backed up everything. The messages, the photos, the audio files. I saved them all to my laptop, encrypted them in a folder, and uploaded them to the cloud just in case. Then I printed physical copies and organized them into neat piles. One for messages. One for pictures. One for dates and times. Not because I was planning revenge, but because I needed control. Documentation. Something to tether me to reality when gaslighting inevitably followed. I opened our bank account next. Closed our shared credit card. Removed her as a beneficiary on the life insurance. Transferred our emergency fund, my contributions anyway, into a personal savings account she didn't know about. Changed passwords. Locked my laptop with a new login. It felt mechanical. Efficient. Like I was processing the end of a company, not a marriage. Later that day, I stood in the bedroom doorway and looked around. I realized there wasn't a single thing in that room that hadn't touched both of us. The mattress we picked out after that camping trip in Oregon. The framed picture of Venice from our honeymoon. The nightstand drawer where she kept her favorite lotion, the one I bought her last Christmas. And it all felt counterfeit now. I packed a small bag, just clothes and essentials, and moved into the guest room. She wouldn't notice right away. Kayla didn't notice much unless it inconvenienced her. But it was a start. My version of quiet separation. I wasn't going to fight. I wasn't going to scream or throw the evidence in her face the minute she walked through the door. She had built a world on lies. I would dismantle it with silence. A few hours later, around dusk, I heard her key in the lock. She came in humming something, probably a song from the Lake House playlist. I didn't greet her. She didn't call out to me either. She dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, and walked straight upstairs. "Hey," she said eventually, poking her head into the guest room. "Why are you in here?" I looked up from my laptop and smiled politely. Felt like changing things up. She frowned. "Are you mad?" "Nope." She studied me. I stayed still. "Okay," she said slowly, then walked off. She didn't ask again. Later that night, I watched her brush her teeth from the hallway. She looked like the same woman I had married. Same dimples. Same little twist in her wrist when she braided her hair before bed. And I realized something chilling. She wasn't even trying to hide anymore. Not really. She believed I would never leave. That I would love her through anything. That I would forgive. And maybe I would have months ago. Maybe if she'd told the truth when there was still something left to save. But not now. Now I had names, dates, images, voices. Now I had the truth, not just suspicions. Now I had proof. And for the first time since this all began, I didn't feel helpless anymore. I felt prepared. The version of me who would have begged her to stay, he was gone. And the man who took his place, he was watching everything. I didn't scream. I didn't throw her phone against the wall or demand answers she'd twist into riddles. I didn't drop the file folder in front of her and wait for the panic. That would have been too easy for her, too loud, too emotional. And emotion was her playing field. She could cry on cue. She could shapeshift into the victim before I even opened my mouth. So I didn't give her that. I gave her silence. Erasure. The quiet kind of response that creeps under the skin and leaves you wondering what's been taken from you. Because it's never loud, never announced. It's just gone. Without warning. Without permission. That week, I began extracting her from my life one detail at a time. The photos came first. On our hallway wall, we had a collage of framed memories from our road trips, Zion, Napa, a blurry sh*T from that motel we accidentally booked in Flagstaff. I pulled them all down and placed them on the dining table. One by one, I slid her out of the frames. Literally. In the Yosemite photo, I kept the one where I was on the ridge alone. She'd been in the original, her hand looped around my waist. I trimmed her out, clean lines, no sentiment. I even kept the background, just me, sky, and silence. On our nightstand, where a beach picture used to sit, her laughing, wind in her hair, I replaced it with a printed copy of the message. The one from T. The one that had appended everything. I centered it in the frame like it was scripture. A reminder. A record. You promised to stay until morning. The Sherwood Hotel. T. That was her legacy now. I moved through the house with precision. Her books vanished from the shelves. The candle she liked, the lavender one with the ceramic lid, I tossed it. Her winter coat, the one I bought her last Christmas, now hung in the hall closet inside a trash bag. Not thrown out. Just waiting. Because I wasn't going to destroy her things. I was going to let her find them packed. Categorized. Exiled. In the kitchen, I cleared the mugs. She had a set of floral cups she called her happy sippers. Gone. I kept the plain black ones. She teased me about them before. Said they were cereal K** aesthetic. Now they just looked clean. Untouched. I threw out her half-used almond milk. Dumped the yogurt she liked. Even peeled the label off the wine bottle she brought home last month. The one she said was just something Becca recommended. But I now knew came from a weekend with Trevor. I peeled it slow, let it sit in the trash on top. Then I opened my laptop and began dismantling the rest. I deleted the joint playlist on Spotify. It had been her idea. Us in a soundtrack. Now it was just a record of what she ruined. I wiped the shared Google Calendar. Removed myself from recurring date nights she'd set but hadn't honored in months. Canceled our Amazon household. Changed the Netflix password. Disconnected her tablet from our Wi-Fi network. And I didn't say a word. Each night that week, she came home acting like things were normal. She asked about dinner. I answered without detail. She told me about her day. I listened, but I didn't engage. She stood in front of the mirror, asking if a dress looked too tight. I said it was fine. I stopped saying, "You look great." I stopped kissing her on the forehead. I stopped looking at her like she was my wife. She didn't notice, not right away. That was the part that hurt most. She didn't notice how absent I'd become because she hadn't really been present either. She'd talk about work, about Becca, about the new series she was binging. Not once did she ask how I was doing. Not once did she apologize. And so I kept going. I transferred all the family photos from our shared drive onto a private one. I removed her from our digital photo frame. I shut down our anniversary website. Yes, we had one. She made it after year 5, said it was so us. Now it was a 404 page. I logged into our phone plan and opened a new line under a separate account. Mine. Independent. Locked. I ordered a new SIM and scheduled it for delivery while she was at work. When it arrived, I slipped it in during lunch and didn't say a word. Her number rang to voicemail the next day. By the end of the week, I'd blocked her email on my work contacts, updated my HR forms to list someone else as my emergency contact, and changed my bank login to two-factor authentication, using the new number she didn't have. The only thing I didn't touch was her relationship with Jade, her daughter, my stepdaughter, because that was the only part of her I still loved. Jade was 17, sharp, observant. She wasn't biologically mine, but I'd raised her since she was 9. School projects, track meets, late-night ice cream runs. She called me Dad, even when she didn't have to. I hadn't told her yet. I didn't know how. I didn't want to destroy her world just because Kayla had destroyed mine. So I let things play out a little longer. Quietly, one night, Kayla walked into the guest room. She leaned against the doorway. Her expression was tired, a little confused. "Are you okay?" I nodded once. "Fine." She crossed her arms. "You've been distant lately." I looked up from my book. "Have I?" She hesitated. "Is something going on?" I met her eyes, held them. "Nope." She lingered for a beat, waiting, maybe hoping I'd crack. But I didn't. She gave a forced smile. "Okay, just checking." Then she left. The door closed behind her and I exhaled. Not because I was hiding, but because I had finally stopped needing her to understand. I wasn't waiting for closure anymore. I was writing it myself. That weekend, she asked if I wanted to go to brunch with her and Becca. I said I had plans. She didn't press. Later that night, she showed me a meme and waited for me to laugh. I nodded, didn't even glance at her screen. That was the pattern now. She'd reach. I'd retreat. Each day I withdrew more, erased more, waited less, and she never asked why. Not really. That's when I knew she didn't think she was losing anything. She thought this was a rough patch, a mood, a phase. She didn't realize I was already gone. That the version of me she used to love had packed up months ago and was now quietly removing the fingerprints she left behind. Not with fury, not with revenge, but with precision, with finality, with peace. Kayla planned a dinner to celebrate Jade's scholarship. Private dining room, waterfront view, the whole thing. She wore pearls I hadn't seen in years. I brought a black file box. After dessert, I stood, placed it on the table and opened it. One by one, I laid out the evidence, messages, hotel receipts, blurred photos, audio transcripts. No speech, no anger, just facts. Kayla stared, motionless, her smile vanishing in slow motion. Jade read in silence, her expression crumbling. Guests looked away, unsure what they just witnessed. I closed the box, picked up my coat, and walked out. Kayla didn't follow. No one did. The truth had filled the room like smoke, and I left them in it. The house was sold within a week. I moved without a word. Kayla texted endlessly, apologies, explanations, rewrites. I didn't respond. Jade messaged once. I answered kindly but briefly. Months passed. At a scholarship gala, I sat alone as they honored donors. Kayla stood in the back, clutching a newspaper clipping, eyes locked on my name etched on the plaque. She didn't come forward. I didn't wave. At my table, a chair remained empty. On it sat a plaque, reserved for those who know family is a choice. I left it untouched, just like the past.